everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Don't Go Broke Trying. I am your host, Reni. If you don't know me, I make content all about financial literacy and career development, and also a little bit of travel. And this is my podcast. It is called Don't Go Broke Trying, and I teach people how to not go broke trying to live their best lives. This specifically is our Coinfessions episode. And Coinfessions episodes are essentially when you all submit your money confessions, your coin confessions, and we answer them for you. And if you are watching this, you will already be able to see my guests. And if you're not watching this, we have a YouTube channel. Go and watch it on there. Our YouTube channel is called Don't Go Broke Trying. But my guest for today is the amazing, the wonderful, the resourceful, the phenomenal Olu of Canada.
Hi, Rani.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I just recorded an episode with Olu where we discuss all things about how to not go broke trying to japa or immigrate to Canada for those who are not Nigerian. And it was a great episode. There were so many gems dropped. I am so grateful for it. And I think before you listen to this episode, you should go back and listen to that episode because it was really good. But Olu's going to help me today to answer the confessions that were submitted by all of you guys.
Okay.
Are you ready for that, Olu?
Let's do this.
Okay. Can you introduce yourself for those who may not know you? I don't know how they don't know you, but if they don't, somehow.
If you don't know Olu of Canada and you want to come to Canada, let me not say anything. Hi, everyone. My name is Olu. Some of you call me Olu of Canada on Twitter and Instagram. I share free resources and information for people who are looking towards making Canada their either temporary or permanent home as well. So thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you for listening. Before you even get into this episode, please share on your story and let the people know that a collab with Olu of Canada and Reni the Resource is here, and everyone needs to listen to it. So please share it. And also, in this episode, we're going to be sharing Coinfessions, as I said. And on Twitter, I typically share them there. So use the hashtag DGBT if you want to just keep up to date with the conversation, because I love hearing your takes on all of the questions that we have. So, Olu, are you ready for the questions that have been submitted?
Let's do this.
Let's do this. Okay, so we have quite a few. I'm going to try and get through them as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Usually I have to read a lot from Reddit, but my audience submitted quite a few today, so I think we'll mostly go through those. Are we ready? Okay, first confession. I am 26 and a second degree student, and I have a feeling I made a mistake to not go for a 1 year degree instead of a 2.5 year degree that I'm doing now. How can I build a solid career while I'm in school to enable me to get a good chance at PR, permanent residency, and citizenship?
Be intentional. That's
Okay.
the first thing I'll tell you.
Mhm.
Make the best use of what you currently have at your disposal right now. Start thinking about your career trajectory from that program. Start looking for jobs so that you can get familiar with the requirements, the things that employers are looking out for in that line of career you're interested in.
Mhm.
And with that, you can do a skill mapping, identifying the skill shortages you have that are not aligned with what employers are looking out for, and be intentional about building those skills. If you have to volunteer, if you have to, do co-op internships and all that, start being intentional about that.
Yeah. Is there, so they mentioned that like they made a mistake to not go for a 1 year degree over a 2.5 year degree.
I think it's actually much more beneficial to go for a program that is more than 1
I was
year,
going to say, yeah.
because a 1 year program would give you just a 1 year postgraduate work permit. And this is me assuming you are an international student as well.
Mhm.
But a program of 2 years would actually give you a 3 year postgraduate work permit, which
And-
gives you more than enough time to work in Canada if you need to work before becoming a permanent resident, to plan your permanent residence options and all that. If you're looking at it from the being able to fund a 2 year program kind of thing, then also start connecting with your institutions to see like the financial support or scholarships that are available for students in your category.
Okay, good insight. Yeah, I think that you can always build a career. Don't feel stressed that maybe you're only 26, first of all, and don't feel stressed that like, oh my God, I'm still in school, like I'm stressed. Like you have the rest of your life to work. So
Right.
I think make the best, as Olu said, be intentional about the schooling that you're doing right now. Try to connect with as many people as possible. do internships, do co-ops if possible, so that once you do graduate, you have a smooth transition into your work permit and then into your permanent residency
Mhm.
and then into citizenship one day, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Next Coinfession.
Okay.
Would you recommend living with a family friend during grad school? It's about an hour and a half from campus on the bus, but it will
Ah.
be free. My thoughts. I'm worried about Canadian winters, the
Mhm.
commute time, and not getting the most out of my experience with networking, etc. But it's free. Any advice would be appreciated. This
The
is a good
first thing I
question.
said was
Yeah.
because if you have to like do daily commute of 1 hour, maybe it's a different city. Like you rightly mentioned, the first thing that came to my mind would be the winter.
Hmm.
Winter, depending on where you're going in Canada, can be brutal. And but living with a family free of charge will save you money on
A
rent
lot.
and a lot of things. So you just have to like weigh the options and know the sacrifices you're ready to make. I also think I also don't think living with a family would stop you from like networking with people,
No.
except they have like strict restriction
Yeah.
on you have to be home by like 6 p.m.
Hmm.
African parent
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. I your big
but
A.
but yeah, like think about it. Look at what you would be missing out from saving money from rent, and if it's a worthy sacrifice for you, it's a personal decision to make.
Yeah. I also think that an hour and a half is actually pretty long,
It is
depending on,
long.
especially, it
So
depends on
if
where
you
you
have
live.
8 a.m. classes, you have to get out of the house
It's
by
6:30.
5 a.m.,
Yeah.
5:30 kind of
Yeah.
thing. So think about also get familiar with transportation network in the
Mhm.
city because some cities in Canada, especially in winter, maybe they only have buses
Yeah.
and they probably would not work if the winter is like
If the snow's too
crazy,
much,
if
yeah.
it's too much.
It
Yeah.
could be that maybe I'm not sure exactly your situation, but maybe you land here, you stay with the family friend, and then maybe if in the first month you see like this is a lot, like this
Mhm.
commute is a lot, then you
Right.
can look for a accommodation that's closer to the school.
Right.
But yeah, having free accommodation, 10 out of 10,
Who doesn't
amazing.
want that?
The distance is a bit it's a bit far. I would
Right.
maybe even ask the friend that you're going to move in with and say like, do you think this is like a good decision to live here? Of course,
Right.
I appreciate and I value that you're offering me this free place. I don't take it for granted, but also like if you were, would you do it basically?
Right.
Because they've
Right.
lived here, they've probably experienced a winter or two, and they know that like I don't know. I live in say I'm going to school downtown and I live in Kitchener. Like I don't know if I would do that commute every single day. But another thing you could do is organize your schedule so you're only going in 2 days, 3 days a week. That's what I did. I used because when I lived at home and I was going to school in Toronto, I think I packed my schedule into 3 days so that all
Okay.
my courses were across those 3 days.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
that
awesome.
could be an option
Mhm.
if it's possible for your program. I know like engineering, it's very hard to do that. So I guess it would depend on the
Right.
program.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Next Coinfession. Do you know anything about line of credits to fund a master's program, please? I'm thinking of getting one and maybe investing some of the money that they give me. And let's assume this person is an international student.
So if you're an international student, you have limited loan options from traditional banks in Canada. So most likely that's going to be a no. You may
Okay.
have to like look at other options that are available to you. Um, through like third party agencies, we have organizations like Empower, Prodigy Finance, and all that that provide loans and you know can borrow you money to finance your education in Canada.
Mm.
However, it is risky.
Yeah.
Getting into debt as an international student, you it's a tough place to start from. So I usually advise people make that your last option after you've explored other options like self-financing, getting scholarships, getting into cheaper programs. And finally, if you're getting a loan, make sure you're negotiating a favorable payment plan and a favorable interest rate as
Mhm.
well.
So so these like third party loan companies, like I'm sure the interest rates are higher than a typical loan.
They're higher than
Yeah.
typical, but I don't have a figure to give you right now. But make sure you weigh those options very
Yeah.
well because especially if you're an international student, you're going to be starting your life having huge debt
Yeah.
in
Not
Canada.
ideal.
Not
Not
ideal.
ideal at all. And then if they were a domestic student, because they didn't specify, so say you
Mhm.
were someone who has maybe your PR and you're now going to for a
Mhm.
master's program, what do we know about using a loan of credit to fund a master's program? I know that there are education lines of credit that
Right,
they do
right.
give. Would I recommend it? I guess it would depend on the interest rate that they're giving you.
Mhm.
You could, if you are a domestic student, then you could get OSAP typically, which is
Yeah,
Ontario
that's
or
on in Ontario,
in
but there are
Ontario.
also like provincial loans across different parts of the
Yeah.
country, and those ones you don't start paying until you've
To
graduated.
graduate.
So
So I would
no
say that would be a
interest.
better
Hmm.
option than going for a line of credit.
Right.
But of course, OSAP and by the way, OSAP is Ontario Student Assistance Program, but that's only for Ontario. There are other
Hmm.
provinces that have their own
Right.
programs. Um, but yeah, I would say it depends on the interest rate. Really, it depends on the payment terms. As
Right.
Olu said, for OSAP, you pay once you like 60 days after you graduate. I think it is
6 months. You
six
start
months.
paying
Sorry,
6 months
six
after
months
you
after you
graduate.
graduate,
Hmm.
it starts to then charge interest,
Hmm.
right? And
And
then
they eliminated the interest on the federal
federal
part
portion, yeah.
of the student loans in
Yeah,
Canada.
so
So
that sounds like a better option than a line
mhm,
of credit, which is like int- a lot of
you have to
interest,
start paying interest
interest
almost
immediately.
immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would say that would be my suggestion for
Hmm.
you. Okay, next Coinfession. So my boyfriend immigrated to Canada as an international student, and as soon as he got here, his dad said, "You are now a man. Take care of yourself," meaning that his dad cannot pay his tuition anymore. So he didn't make it to school. His permit was only valid for a year. He is working nonstop to be able to survive. As you know, they now just allowed international students to work more than 20 hours.
Hmm.
Now, what can he do to not go back to Africa? It's expiring soon. And I don't want to marry him for papers, please.
That's a tough place to find yourself. Number one thing to note is that you are not even eligible to work in Canada if you are not enrolled in school.
Yeah.
As an international student, transparently, you are only allowed to start working when you've started your program.
Hmm.
And so if you come to Canada, you were not enrolled in school, you were working non-stop, there's no way the institution would have reported you as not present because they have to like give report to the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada um, on any international student that is enrolled in their school.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the honest truth is that you're violating the terms, or he has violated the terms of his study permit.
Yeah.
The options become very limited when you find yourself in that spot. But Canada has some like compassionate and humanitarian options for students or individuals in those categories that you can explore.
Okay.
My number one advice would be to connect with a professional, an immigration consultant or immigration lawyer, so that they can explain those options to you and you can know what that would entail. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a difficult spot to find yourself.
Yeah, this one is difficult. And yeah,
Mhm.
no marriage for papers, please. Unless you guys have been together for a while.
Mhm.
But
And you're
uh,
sure of each other's
yeah,
intentions
exactly.
towards
But
yourself.
yeah, this is a very difficult
Mhm.
situation to be. And it actually happens quite a bit
It does.
where parents are like, yeah, unfortunately, I can't. Okay, this one is a little weird because he's like, now you're a man, like, take
Mhm.
care of yourself.
Right.
I don't know about that one. But a lot of parents, like, they just can't afford it, especially with the interest rates and, I mean, the exchange rates that they're
Right.
paying. So,
Right.
but yeah, once you are not in school, you have violated your study permit.
Right.
And it's, I've seen this happen. It's very hard to come back from that.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It is.
I think paying for for legal advice would be a very good
Mhm.
solve for this. But again, the lawyers can't guarantee you anything. They can
Mhm.
try and help with your case, but they can't guarantee it.
True.
Yeah. Sorry about that. If anyone else has anything to add to this, please make sure to add it on Twitter at DGBT Pod. Just like that, I think you can, if you have any insight that you can share, that would be really helpful. Okay. Next Coinfession. Immigration is a decision my parents spontaneously took that left our family with nothing compared to the comfort we'd always experienced. They were sold misinformation, and crossing the border was not all they thought it would be. I had to learn fast that if I wanted an education, I had to hustle and then leave home for my mental health. Long story short, at 16, I started taking care of myself financially and
Mhm.
moved out. I pay my own tuition, rent, and even support my family. But now I'm $3,500 in credit card debt, and $7,000 in student loans, and my job is taxing me insanely. How do I continue to choose myself by paying rent and living independently while taking care of everyone around me without getting poorer? I'm only about to be 21 and I want better for myself. My family can't provide that emotionally or financially. I make $21 an hour and I have a summer contract for 3 months until I have to resume school. Any advice will be appreciated, but this is just a reminder for others to do their best to get informed on what immigration is. Don't just jump at all the news you hear from some uncle you went to school with that claims to have a good life in Canada. So
That's a tough one.
it is. So the question is, how do I continue to choose myself by paying rent and living independently while taking care of everyone around me without getting poor?
Um,
Hmm.
that's a tough one.
Heavy, yeah.
It's heavy. And I mean, thank you for finding the courage to even put that out there and share that with us. Number one thing I will advise you is to prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to help other people, you are only able to give what you have to other people. You need to learn to prioritize yourself, your mental health, your well-being, your personal being. Needs to be the priority at first. Number two thing, I don't know what your status is in Canada. So if you're not an international student, if you're a local student, it's going to be challenging, but you have the opportunity to continue to work full time even while still going to school. So if you have to like take lesser classes, if it's going to take you longer to complete your program, if you want to space things out so that the cost is not too choking for you, you should think about that and consider and know what that would mean for you as well. The number three thing is, look at other financial support options that are available for you. Connect with the student, maybe local student office in your school and see like the grants. Some of them have some grants. It could be as low as like 1,000, 2,000 here and all that.
It adds
And
up.
you have all those money. Just be transparent and let them know the situation of things and see what other supports you can get from them as well.
Yeah. There are a lot of needs-based scholarships and needs-based grants, and even just grants that aren't needs-based at all that you can just apply for. I got a merit-based grant. It was just $500, but it's something, especially as a student when you're
I got
broke,
some of that too
right?
when I was a student, like 500 here,
Yeah,
1,000
it
here,
adds up.
2,000, and
It's
it
very
adds up
helpful.
at the end.
Like if someone dropped 500 into my account today, I would be very grateful,
I'll
right?
prostrate.
So yeah. So imagine when I was a student, like that was a lot of money to me. So
Right.
I would tell you that I empathize with your situation. This cannot be easy, especially you're
Right.
just a baby girl. You're just 21. But as Olu said, prioritize yourself always because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? You can only continue to give and help others if you or yourself are filled. I know that you have some credit card debt and some student loans. For student loans, I'm guessing that you're a local student because I'm assuming maybe that because you have the student loans. So if possible, take less courses right now. As you said, that's the flexibility that we have as domestic
Local
students.
students, yeah.
Because if you're on a a study permit, you have to take your full
credit,
load,
you have to
right?
be fully enrolled.
Exactly. Whereas for you, you could take 2 courses a semester, one course a semester, and it will allow you to work more in order to pay off these things. But first thing I would say, look for grants and scholarships that can help support you. Second thing I would say, try to lessen the load at school and work more hours so that you can especially pay down that credit card debt. Student loans, maybe you don't need to pay them down yet, but your credit card debt, like it can spiral out of control if you're not careful. And and then I would say, I don't know, I don't know. It's hard. It's a very hard situation, but I'm proud of you. You're doing well.
Right.
And I thank you for sharing that immigration is not all, roses and rose petals and stuff like that because there's more to it than a lot of people realize. And as Olu has mentioned in this episode and the past episode, it's really important to be strategic and informed when you decide to immigrate to a new country. Yeah. Okay. Next Coinfession. Would I be the asshole if I moved to Canada for a PhD even though my mother doesn't want me to? Me and my girlfriend are in our final year of studies. Me, master's, her undergrad in the UK. We have begun the lengthy process for the next step in our academic careers. I have always wanted to live in Canada and have found some great research opportunities over there.
Right.
However, recently my grandmother passed away, my brother left home, and lives in Switzerland currently, and our dad is estranged. My mother has done everything for me and my brother, and even paid me through university out of her own pocket. I have never taken her for granted, and I don't ask her for much, as she has given me so much already. When I told her my plan, she became increasingly upset, as if I left, she would have no family in the country anymore. She had always told me to pursue my dreams and this is that, but I don't want to upset her. So, would I be the asshole if I moved to Canada for my PhD with my girlfriend anyway, despite my mother's insistence that I look for opportunities in the UK?
Am I allowed to be selfish on this?
Give it to
um,
us. Give it to us.
I don't think you'll be the asshole. I think you can sit her down and have some conversations around this. Let her know the importance of making that move to you for your career. Let her know the benefits accruable to that and some of the great things you will do. Maybe you'll be the one to do that next, breaking research for us in Canada. So we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to miss out on that.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll be the asshole, but I think
No.
you can have some conversations and discuss some of those things. Also, the fact that you're coming to Canada doesn't mean you wouldn't be allowed to leave Canada all
Yeah.
through the 4 years. So,
Especially you have a UK passport, it's
if you
easy.
have a UK passport, you can
Assuming.
always visit. Even if you are, not a UK citizen and all that, you
Mhm.
can always get a visiting visa to visit the UK
Yeah.
during scheduled breaks. The semesters in Canada are just about 4 months.
Mhm.
You have the regular breaks after each semester. So, do you
Yeah.
pursue your dreams?
Yeah. I'm with you. You're not the asshole for wanting to do this. And of course, it's natural that your mom would not want you to move. Like
Mm.
she's being protective of you.
I
Probably like,
didn't tell my parents I was
yeah.
moving.
I was gonna say
Up
Olu.
to-
Oh, I already knew what Olu's answer would be because Olu left without even telling. Well, he told his parents eventually, but
yeah,
like right
yeah,
before.
2 weeks before I left. But when I was doing all the processing, I didn't tell them.
Yeah, because and the reason was you didn't want them to discourage you or
Mm,
anything like that,
right.
right? Same thing here. So you've already told her. Unfortunately, you can't take the approach that Olu took, but I would say that this is like a next step in your career. And a lot of parents will feel this way. They'll be sad. They'll be like emotional that you're leaving them.
Mhm.
But I think ultimately it makes a lot of sense for your PhD, especially if you're going to get a fully funded program or something like
Right,
that. It makes a lot of sense.
right,
And again, you can always go back to the UK.
right.
And your mom can even move to Canada if she really wants to. She can move, she can move to Canada. But yeah, I don't think you're the asshole at all for this. You
I agree
agree?
with you. I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not the asshole. Okay, we're gonna do one more. This was from Reddit and it's from r/immigration Canada. Looking for advice on getting our financial ducks in a row before moving from the US to Canada. I'm a dual citizen. This is a dual citizen plus non-resident, both living in the US.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My wife and I are finally starting to get our ducks in a row to relocate from the US to Canada, but are realistically still a few years out. Lots of great info on this subreddit and other resources, so we're feeling pretty confident about most things, but I'm having a strangely difficult time to figure out if there's a best way to prepare our credit worthiness ahead of our move. Of course, a longer credit history is best, so we're wanting to get that ball running soon. Here's what we're looking at. If anyone could help point me in the right direction for our banking and credit efforts or offer some advice, I'd greatly appreciate it. Wife has dual citizenship, Canada and US. I'm US only. We have both lived in the US for 10 years. Wife's Canadian credit is probably poor. We'll be requesting her history/report soonish to get a better idea. She has family in Canada that we'll be moving near to. We obviously have no address in Canada, and I'm not super keen on using family's address for our banking/credit efforts if I can avoid it. I've seen some instances of needing to be in person to open some accounts, and that wouldn't be a problem since we're up there a few times a year. We currently have accounts in good standing in the US with a bunch of banks. I know that the Bank of America has some kind of partnership with Scotiabank, but I'm not finding much in the way of that being useful for us. Current US score is near perfect as you can get. We are planning to move with some cash on hand to purchase the house outright. Ooh, you got money. We are expecting that even with her good citizenship status, it would be out of the question to expect to secure a mortgage shortly after moving. That said, having opportunity to partially finance with a mortgage would be great. Also, would like to be confident that if we needed to finance a vehicle purchase, we wouldn't have to maintain a US based lender to do so. We assume that employment and auto insurance may look at credit history like we're used to in the US. If anybody has some good resources regarding living in Canada with US based income sources, I would greatly appreciate it. Yeah, so their question is basically looking for advice on getting their financial ducks in a row before they leave to Canada. Do you have any advice on this
I
or
mean,
takes?
there's a couple of things you can do. So I am very much sure like traditional financial institutions in Canada offer also like financial advice. You can book an appointment with a financial advisor in um, a popular bank in Canada and all that. That's one thing to explore because you have a lot of things to like discuss and talk about and figure out and all that. So they may be in a better position to give those
Yeah.
information to you.
Mhm.
The other thing I know is that because the spouse or the partner is a dual Canadian citizen, there's also option um, for you as a Canadian citizen working offshore, earning income offshore to kind of like build your credit, build your
Mm,
um, credit worthiness through things like filing taxes and all that
yeah,
in Canada as
good
well. So
point.
if you've not been doing that, those are like some of the things to also get into as well.
Mhm.
I also know like there are also like some banks, online kind of banks in Canada that you don't need to like be physically in
Here.
Canada to open those accounts. So
Mhm.
a little bit of like saving up with those ones too might be helpful in
Helpful.
this case as well.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot going on
Yeah.
in this. And as you said, reaching out to someone who works at a bank
Yeah.
here in Canada would probably be your best bet. And maybe you can even look at like if you have the TD bank account, TD Waterhouse account in the States, the TD Canadian account, so TD Canada Trust may be a good like uh uh, equivalent that you can reach out to. And even if like maybe you can ask your local one at in the US if they have a way to connect you with them in
Right.
Canada. So it's
Right.
seamless process for you. But yeah, especially because your wife is Canadian, I think it's like easier for you because you can open these accounts. You have all the you probably she has a SIN number. I'm guessing she
Right.
has all of those things. It's probably very easy for her to open the account. But yeah, credit worthiness is a big thing here in Canada. Very big thing.
And you're probably already familiar and aware of that.
Yeah,
It's similar to what is obtainable in the United States.
yeah,
A lot of these countries are credit-based economies as well. So credit worthiness is very, very important.
yeah. Extremely important. I'm just gonna read the some of the things that people have said on this thread. There weren't many comments, but someone said, look into an Amex Global, so American Express Global. I guess that is a global card.
Mhm.
Also, purchasing a home outright sounds terrible. I agree
You
as
got
well.
money.
You got money for real. If your wife has bad credit, use your name once you establish your PR. Pay off as much US debts as possible before the move. The conversion rate will hurt you. Yeah, that's true. If you're a homeowner, consider prepping the home to make for a quick sale. The ROI seems dismal, but a quick sell is worth it. As far as owning a business/rental properties in the US, I see no issues. You'll just have to claim it on your taxes, both US and Canada, as
Right.
Olu mentioned.
Right.
But the Canadian taxes will cancel out the US one, so you won't end up double paying. Yeah,
Mhm.
because Canada and the US have a tax treaty, so you won't end up double paying. Yeah, but yeah, I think another thing to know is that your credit history in the US will not carry over to Canada.
No.
You're starting brand new from scratch here. So
Mhm.
as Olu has mentioned, like you want to start building that up as soon as possible, even before you come here if possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, those are all the questions that we have today.
Okay.
Olu, thank you so much for being here.
It's been a pleasure being here. So thank you so much for having me
Yes,
as
I
well.
appreciate you. If someone wanted to reach out to you and or connect with you, follow you, where would they do that?
Instagram, Twitter, Telegram. So look out for me on Instagram and Twitter at Olufemiloye. That is at OLUFEMILOYE. Also have a website www dot how many W's have I said? www.olufemiloye.ca. So it's just my name
Mhm.
dot ca.
Perfect. So many gems there. And we had an amazing conversation before this. So make sure you listen to that. If you've gone through this whole episode and you haven't shared this episode yet, please make sure that you share it. Tag Olu, tag me, tag the podcast. I'll leave all those links in the description box below and in the show notes. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not yet. It is at Don't Go Broke Trying. We are so grateful for Olufemi Lawyer for being here. Thank you
you.
so much. I can't tell you how good this episode was. So thank you so much.
Thank
I
you for
appreciate
having
you.
me.
Have a great day, everyone. I appreciate you for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something that will help you not go broke. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, please remember to leave a review. And don't hoard this knowledge. Share it with a friend that you think may find this valuable. This episode was produced by Omilia Visuals with music by Wonder Girl.